The Angel of Death, the true story of Stefan Letter. In the serene Bavarian town of Suntafan, nestled among the picturesque Alps, a sinister presence lurked within the sterile halls of a local clinic. Between 2003 and 2004, nurse Stefan Letter transformed from a trusted caregiver into one of Germany's most prolific healthcare serial killers, leaving a trail of death that would shake the nation's faith in its medical system. The story begins not with violence, but with seeming compassion. Stefan Letter, born in 1978, appeared to be the model of German efficiency and professionalism. As a young nurse at the Suntafan clinic, he was known for his attentiveness to patients and his willingness to work long hours. His colleagues described him as quiet but reliable, someone who never caused problems and always seemed eager to help. But beneath this carefully constructed facade lay a disturbing reality that would only emerge after dozens of lives had been systematically extinguished. The first signs that something was amiss came in the form of subtle statistical anomalies. The death rate in Letter's ward began to climb, though initially not enough to raise serious alarm. Elderly patients passing away in a hospital ward was, after all, not unusual. Yet there was something unsettling about the frequency with which patients under Letter's care seemed to slip away, particularly during his night shifts. The murders were carried out with clinical precision, utilizing a lethal cocktail of medications that Letter had systematically stolen from the hospital's supplies. His weapon of choice was primarily muscle relaxants drugs like alcuronium and pancuronium, which when administered in high doses, cause respiratory failure. These deaths appeared natural at first glance, particularly in elderly or seriously ill patients. The victims would simply stop breathing, their deaths attributed to their underlying conditions rather than foul play. Letter's method was as calculating as it was cruel. He would often target patients who were already vulnerable, the elderly, the seriously ill, those who might not be expected to survive long anyway. This careful selection helped him avoid detection, as these deaths seemed, on the surface, to be merely the natural progression of illness or age. But Letter didn't discriminate entirely by age or condition. Some of his victims were relatively healthy and younger, including patients in their 50s who were expected to recover. The true horror of Letter's crimes lay not just in their number, but in the violation of trust they represented. Nurses are supposed to be healers, advocates for their patients in their most vulnerable moments. Letter perverted this sacred trust, using his position and knowledge not to heal but to destroy. He would often be the one to comfort family members after their loved ones passed, playing the role of the caring nurse even as he knew he had been their executioner. As 2004 progressed, the death toll mounted. Letter claimed victim after victim, sometimes killing multiple patients in a single shift. The exact number of murders would later be difficult to determine, but investigators would eventually attribute at least 29 deaths to him, though some estimates suggested the true number could be higher. The victims ranged in age from 40 to 94, each one a life cut short by Letter's calculated actions. The breaking point came when fellow staff members began to notice discrepancies in the medication inventory. Vials of muscle relaxants were disappearing at an alarming rate, far more than could be explained by normal usage. This, combined with the statistical anomaly of deaths during Letter's shifts, finally triggered a formal investigation. The investigation that followed would uncover a pattern of death that sent shockwaves through the German medical community. Police discovered that Letter had been systematically stealing medications, carefully covering his tracks but leaving just enough evidence for investigators to piece together the horrifying puzzle. When confronted with the evidence, Letter's facade began to crack. In July 2004, Letter was arrested, and the full scope of his crimes began to emerge. During interrogation, he initially maintained his innocence, but as the evidence mounted, he began to break down. His confession, when it came, was clinical and detached, much like his approach to murder had been. He spoke of giving patients peace and ending their suffering, though many of his victims had not been terminal or in pain. The trial that followed in 2006 captivated and horrified Germany. The court proceedings revealed the methodical nature of Letter's crimes, as well as the systemic failures that had allowed him to continue killing for so long. Evidence showed that he had kept detailed notes about his victims, including their reactions to the lethal injections he administered. This level of documentation would prove crucial in securing his conviction. Perhaps most chilling were Letter's attempts to justify his actions. He spoke of himself as an angel of death, claiming he was motivated by mercy rather than malice. But the evidence told a different story. Many of his victims had been showing signs of improvement, some were even preparing to return home. His claims of mercy were revealed to be a thin veneer covering a darker compulsion. The testimony of families devastated by Letter's actions provided some of the most powerful moments of the trial. They spoke of loved ones who had been recovering, of plans made and futures stolen. One woman described how her mother had been planning to attend a grandchild's wedding, only to die mysteriously during one of Letter's shifts. Another spoke of his father, who had been scheduled to return home the very day Letter ended his life. The psychological evaluation of Letter revealed a complex and disturbing personality. While he showed signs of narcissistic personality disorder, he was found to be fully aware of his actions and their consequences. The evaluation suggested that his crimes were driven not by mercy or compassion, as he claimed, but by a desire for power and control over life and death. On March 20, 2006, the Kempton Regional Court delivered its verdict. Stephen Letter was found guilty of 28 counts of murder, 12 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of mercy killing. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with the particular severity of guilt established, meaning he would have no possibility of early release after the standard 15 years. The court's decision reflected the gravity of his crimes and the breach of trust they represented. The aftermath of the Letter case led to significant changes in German healthcare protocols. Hospitals across the country implemented stricter controls on medication access and storage. Regular audits of death rates by shift and staff member became standard practice. The case also sparked a national conversation about healthcare security and the systems needed to prevent similar crimes. The Sundtofan Clinic, where Letter had carried out his crimes, underwent a complete overhaul of its procedures. The hospital had to work hard to rebuild trust with the community, implementing new safety measures and increasing transparency in its operations. The shadow of Letter's crimes would hang over the institution for years to come. Letter's case joined the ranks of other notorious healthcare serial killers, such as Charles Cullen in the United States and Harold Shipman in the United Kingdom. These cases shared disturbing similarities: trusted medical professionals who used their position to take lives rather than save them. The Letter case served as another tragic reminder of how vulnerable patients can be in medical settings. The impact on the nursing profession in Germany was significant. Nurses reported increased scrutiny and, in some cases, suspicion from patients and their families. The profession had to work to rebuild trust, emphasizing the dedication and integrity of the vast majority of healthcare workers who remain true to their calling to heal and protect. Today, Stephen Letter remains in prison, his name synonymous with one of Germany's worst cases of healthcare serial killing. The true toll of his crimes extends beyond the official victim count, affecting families, colleagues, and the entire medical profession. His case serves as a dark reminder of the potential for evil to hide behind a caring facade and the importance of vigilance in protecting society's most vulnerable. The story of Stephen Letter is more than just a true crime narrative. It's a cautionary tale about trust, power, and the systems we rely on to protect us. It reminds us that sometimes the greatest dangers come not from obvious threats, but from those we trust to care for us in our moments of greatest vulnerability. The case continues to influence healthcare policies and practices, serving as a grim reminder of the need for constant vigilance in medical settings. The victims of Stephen Letter were more than just statistics. They were mothers, fathers, grandparents, and children. They were people with hopes, dreams, and futures that were cut short by a man who had sworn to protect and heal. Their stories, and the pain of their families, serve as a permanent testament to the importance of safeguarding our healthcare systems and protecting those who depend on them. As the years pass, the case of Stephen Letter remains a dark chapter in German medical history, a reminder that evil can wear a healer's mask. His crimes led to important reforms in healthcare security, but they also left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness of a nation that had trusted him to care for its most vulnerable citizens. The true legacy of the Sundtofan murders lies not just in the lives lost, but in the lessons learned and the changes made to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. In the end, the story of Stephen Letter is a reminder that the most dangerous predators are often those who hide in plain sight, using positions of trust and authority to carry out their crimes. His case continues to be studied by law enforcement and healthcare professionals, serving as a crucial example of how healthcare systems must balance providing care with protecting patients from those who would do them harm. The ripples of Letter's crimes continue to affect the German healthcare system even today. In the years following his conviction, investigators and researchers have delved deeper into his background, seeking to understand how a healthcare professional could transform into such a prolific killer. This continued scrutiny has revealed additional layers to his complex psychology and the systemic failures that enabled his crimes. During his imprisonment, Letter's behavior has been a subject of intense study by criminologists and forensic psychologists. Unlike some healthcare serial killers who showed remorse or provided insights into their motivations, Letter has remained largely enigmatic. His prison records indicate a pattern of controlled behavior, much like the calculated demeanor he displayed during his nursing career. He rarely speaks about his crimes, and when he does, he maintains his original narrative of mercy killings, despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. The investigation into Letter's past revealed troubling patterns that had gone unnoticed during his early career. Former colleagues from his training period recalled instances of unusual interest in terminal patients and death-related topics. However, these red flags were dismissed at the time, attributed to professional curiosity rather than sinister intentions. This oversight has led to increased emphasis on psychological screening and monitoring of healthcare workers, particularly those working in vulnerable patient care settings. One of the most significant developments in the aftermath of the Letter case has been the implementation of the Untersuchungshaft protocols in many German hospitals. These guidelines establish strict medication tracking systems, regular psychological assessments for healthcare workers, and mandatory reporting of unusual death patterns. The protocols have been credited with preventing several potential cases of medical abuse, though the exact numbers remain confidential to protect ongoing investigations. The families of Letter's victims have formed a support group that advocates for patient safety reforms. Their organization, Never Again Untersuchungshaft, works to ensure that the lessons learned from their tragedy continue to influence healthcare policy. They regularly speak at medical conferences and nursing schools, sharing their experiences to educate future healthcare professionals about the importance of vigilance and proper protocols. Further investigation into the hospital's records after Letter's conviction revealed additional suspicious deaths that could not be definitively linked to him due to lack of evidence. These cases haunt investigators and family members alike, suggesting that the true scope of his crimes might never be fully known. Some families have pushed for the exhumation of bodies and further testing, but the passage of time and the nature of the drugs used make such investigations increasingly difficult. The case has also become a cornerstone of medical ethics education in Germany and beyond. Medical and nursing students now study the Letter case as part of their training, learning not only about the importance of proper medication handling but also about the psychological aspects of patient care and the responsibility to report suspicious behavior among colleagues. The Untersuchungshaft clinic itself has undergone a complete transformation. Beyond the physical security measures and protocol changes, the institution has worked to create a culture of transparency and accountability. Regular town halls with community members, open discussions about patient safety measures, and partnerships with patient advocacy groups have helped rebuild trust, though the shadow of Letter's crimes continues to influence public perception. Criminologists studying Letter's case have noted several patterns that align with other healthcare serial killers, yet also identify unique aspects of his methodology. His detailed record-keeping, while ultimately contributing to his conviction, suggests a level of organization and premeditation that distinguishes him from more impulsive healthcare killers. This has led to new theories about the psychology of medical serial killers and the development of better detection methods. The international medical community has also taken notice of the Letter case. Hospitals in other countries have studied the systemic failures that allowed him to operate undetected for so long, leading to widespread reforms in medication tracking and staff monitoring. The case has become a cautionary tale in healthcare systems worldwide, demonstrating the need for robust safeguards against potential abuse. As Germany continues to grapple with the legacy of the Untersuchungshaft murders, new questions emerge about the balance between patient care and security. How can healthcare systems maintain the necessary trust between patients and caregivers while protecting against potential predators? The answers to these questions continue to evolve, shaped by the tragic lessons of Letter's crimes. The case has also influenced research into the psychology of healthcare serial killers. Studies have examined the common traits and warning signs that might help identify potential perpetrators before they can act. Letter's case provides valuable insights into how such individuals can manipulate healthcare systems and maintain a facade of professionalism while carrying out their crimes. Perhaps most disturbing is the realization that Letter's methods were not particularly sophisticated. He exploited basic vulnerabilities in the hospital's systems, suggesting that similar crimes could occur in any healthcare setting without proper safeguards. This understanding has led to increased focus on systematic approaches to patient safety, moving beyond individual monitoring to create comprehensive security frameworks. The impact on nursing education has been particularly profound. Nursing schools now include extensive ethics training and psychological screening, with special attention paid to attitudes toward end-of-life care. Students are taught to recognize and report concerning behavior in colleagues, breaking down the traditional culture of silence that can enable healthcare crimes. Letter's case continues to generate debate about the nature of evil in healthcare settings. How can someone sworn to heal others become an agent of death? The answers remain elusive, but the questions continue to influence healthcare policy and practice. His crimes serve as a permanent reminder of the need for vigilance in protecting society's most vulnerable members. The broader implications of the Letter case extend beyond healthcare security. It raises fundamental questions about trust, professional responsibility, and the systems we rely on to protect us. As healthcare becomes increasingly complex and automated, the lessons learned from this case become even more relevant, informing how we design and implement safety protocols in medical settings. As we continue to study and learn from the Letter case, one thing becomes clear: the fight to prevent similar crimes is ongoing. Each new generation of healthcare workers must be taught the importance of vigilance, ethical behavior, and the sacred trust placed in medical professionals. The legacy of Stephen Letter serves as both a warning and a call to action, reminding us that the protection of vulnerable patients requires constant attention and unwavering commitment to proper safeguards and protocols.